ready to begin row 42, which is row 1 of the chart on page 10 of your May mail out. And note that because we transferred the stitches back onto the other needle, row 42 is a right side row. We already have nutkin and chic attached. Remembering to change to your larger size needle, we're going to just look at row 1 before we start to knit it. So you can see that there it begins with 6 stitches in chic, then 1 in nutkin, and then there's a pattern of 4 1 4 1 4 1 all the way across to the last 6 stitches where it ends with 6 chic stitches. In Fairisle knitting there are 2 main techniques. One is called stranding, which you saw me demonstrate in the previous demonstration when we worked 1 stitch in pickles and 1 stitch in brick. That was a basic Fairisle stranded row, keeping 1 yarn on top and 1 yarn underneath. However, on row 1 of the chart, you will see that there are a regular pattern where there are more than 3 stitches in one block, which means that the strand of yarn, of nutkin yarn, would be too long to travel across 4 stitches. So we need to do an extra technique called weaving in, which will shorten the length of the strand of nutkin across the back of the work, thus keeping the work neat and tidy. So on this row, I'm going to show you a combination of stranding and weaving in. So I begin the row with 6 chic stitches. Now, bearing in mind that we should not let an unused yarn carry across more than 3 stitches at the back of the work, I'm going to work 3 stitches and then weave. So I do this as follows on a right side row. I put my needle into the next stitch, ready to knit. The yarn that is going to be carried across the back always travels underneath the main yarn. To weave the nutkin yarn, I place it across the needles like so. I knit the stitch with chic, but as I draw the needle back, I make sure that the nutkin yarn is held over to the left, out of the way, as I bring the chic stitch through. Then as I work 1 more stitch using chic, the nutkin carries behind the work as so. I've worked 5 stitches of chic, so I need to work 1 more. Then I'm ready to work 1 stitch using nutkin. Nutkin is the yarn which is being carried across the back of the work, so that is going to remain as the yarn that is always picked up from under the chic yarn on this row. Knit 1 using nutkin, drop the nutkin down, and then pick up the chic yarn to work 4 stitches. After 2 stitches, I'm going to weave the nutkin yarn, otherwise the strand might be a little bit too long across the back of the work. So again, pick up nutkin from under chic, put it over the cross of the needles, knit with chic, bring the needle back with the chic stitch, release the chic stitch off the needle, and then knit 1 more, holding the nutkin in place so it travels across the back of the next stitch as well. That's called a full weave. And then we're ready to pick up nutkin from underneath the main colour, not from on top. Keep it underneath on this row. When we've knitted that stitch, we can drop nutkin down, pick up chic and repeat as before. This consistency of keeping yarns over and under across a row is very important, as it will help you maintain a neat and even tension. It will also stop your yarns from tangling around each other. Okay, we're now on the last 6 stitches. So what I would suggest that you do here is you work 3, you then weave on stitch number 4, it will carry across stitch number 5, and then you can work that last stitch using both yarns. Remember, we did that on the decorative slip stitch row. And now we're knitting Fairisle in this panel. That would be a good thing to do at the end of every row, to work the stitch using both yarns to keep the edge neat, and both yarns then at the beginning ready for the next row coming back. Okay, so row 2 of the chart begins with 5 chic stitches. So what we will need to do, we'll need to do a weave on a wrong side row. There's also hooked in beads, so there's quite a lot going on in this row. And then there's some simple stranding after that initial 5 chic stitches, where the pattern is 3 1 3 1 1 1 with a hook bead in the middle. Just follow the chart, perhaps give it a good read before you begin the row. Really study it to see what's happening before you start. So beginning with, just make sure at the beginning of the row that your yarns are untangled. That's always a good thing to do. You may just get one twist where you knitted the stitches together at the end, but apart from that your yarn should be untangled. Keeping chic on top and nutkin underneath, and I would do that across every row in this pattern. Keep chic on top, nutkin under. We're going to begin the row by purling 5 using chic, but on after 3 stitches I'm going to weave the nutkin, otherwise the strand of nutkin will be too long at the back of the work. So keeping nutkin held underneath chic, with your needle in the next stitch ready to purl, place nutkin over the cross of the needles like so, holding it if you can up here so it's out of the way, so it's high up. Purl the stitch, making sure you draw the needle back and grab the chic stitch, but the needle must come underneath the nutkin so you don't draw that round to the front of the work. Flick that yarn back so it's sitting on the wrong side of the work, and work the next stitch so that nutkin will hold in a second time here across stitch number 4 and 5, and then you're ready to work one nutkin stitch. So drop chic on top, pick up nutkin from under and work one stitch. The next stitch is actually a hooked in, is using chic, but there's a hooked in stitch, a hooked in bead, a gold bead. So I'm going to use my floss to hook in a bead. After the bead is hooked in, keeping chic on top, I'm ready to purl that stitch. Then I pick up nutkin and I purl one stitch, and then the pattern tells me it's 3 chic. So 1, 2, 3. Pick up nutkin from under and work one stitch. It's perfectly acceptable for a yarn to strand across 3 stitches, but the general rule is that when you have 4 stitches, you need to weave. So just bear that in mind every time you begin each row of the chart. 3 chic, okay, then it's 1 nutkin again, picking up nutkin from under chic, so that's 1 nutkin. Then again we've got hook in bead. You can use a crochet hook for this or the floss, whatever suits you best, whatever you prefer is fine. You'll get the same result. Okay, so that stitch is worked with chic, chic, chic being picked up from on top, nutkin picked up from underneath, chic from on top, so that's 3 chic stitches, a nutkin stitch and 3 chic, and then we're ready again to work 1 nutkin stitch, hook in a gold bead, purl 1 using chic from on top, purl 1 using nutkin from underneath, then it's 3 chic, 1 nutkin, three chic, and then you're repeating that all the way across the row following the chart. Okay, just coming to the final few stitches here, which there are 5, so I'm going to work 2 chic stitches. Then remember here, because there's 5 chic stitches in a block, it would be good to weave in the nutkin. So again, a wrong side row weave is to take the yarn that you're weaving from underneath, from below the main colour, place it over the cross of the needles, hold it up out of the way if you can, while you bring that chic stitch through, drop both to the back, but bring the nutkin forward, so as you work the next stitch it travels across the back again, creating a full weave. And then I would suggest that you work both stitches, purl both yarns, use both yarns to purl that final stitch again. And just remember that by doing that, it looks like you've got 2 stitches. That is 1 stitch that will be worked as 1 stitch at the beginning of the next row. But it just helps to keep the edge neat. And as well as that, you have both yarns at the beginning of the next row ready to pick up and use.